Goering opposed any financial limitation of war production and added that all measures are to be considered from the standpoint of an assured waging of war. At the party rally in Nuremberg in 1936, Hitler announced the establishment of the 4-year plan and the appointment of Goering as the plenipotentiary in charge. Goering was already engaged in building a strong air force, and on the 8th of July 1938, he announced to a number of leading German aircraft manufacturers that the German Air Force was already superior in quality and quantity to the English, mitigant all previous achievements. He said that he had been ordered to build as rapidly as possible an air force 5 times as large as originally planned, to increase the speed of the rearmament of the Navy and Army, and to concentrate on offensive weapons. Scientific and basic groundwork was laid in order to be ready again to work for the German armed forces at the appointed hour without loss of time or experience. Only through the secret activity of German enterprise, together with the experience gained meanwhile through the production of peacetime goods, was it possible after 1933 to fall into step with the new tasks arrived at, restoring Germany's military power. From this law, that by May of 1935, Hitler and his government had arrived at the stage in the carrying out of their policies when it was necessary for them to have in existence the requisite machinery for the administration and government of Germany in the event of their policy leading to war, were designed to show the German people the nature of the Navy's effort to rearm in defiance of the Treaty of Versailles. The full details of these publications have been given in evidence. On the 12th of May 1934, the defendant Raeder issued the top secret armament plan for what was correct. 1 month later, in June 1934, the defendant Raeder had a conversation with Hitler, in which Hitler instructed him to keep secret the construction of U-boats and of warships over the limit of 10,000 tons, which was then been undertaken. And on the 2nd of November 1934, the defendant Raeder had another conversation with Hitler and the defendant Goering, in which Hitler said that he considered it vital that the German Navy should be increased as planned, as no war could be carried on if the Navy was not able to safeguard the ore imports from Scandinavia. The large orders for building given in 1933 and 1934 are sought to be excused by the defendant Raeder on the ground that negotiations were in progress for an agreement between Germany and Great Britain permitting to by Germany. In capital vessels, for example, the displacement details were falsified by 20%, whilst in the case of U-boats, the German historians Assmann and Gladish say it is probably just in the sphere of submarine construction that Germany adhered the least to the restrictions of the German-British treaty. The importance of these breaches of the treaty is seen when the motive for this rearmament is considered. In the year 1940, the defendant Raeder himself wrote, Hitler had made this view quite plain. It must be remembered that Mein Kampf was no mere private diary in which the secret thoughts of Hitler were set down. Its contents were rather proclaimed from the housetops. It was used in the schools and universities and among the Hitler youth, in the SS and the SA, and among the German people generally, even down to the presentation of an official copy to all newly married people. By the year 1945, over 6.5 million copies had been circulated. The general contents are well known. Over and over again, Hitler asserted his belief in the necessity of force as the means of solving international problems, as in the following quotation. The soil on which we now live was not a gift bestowed by heaven on our forefathers. They had to conquer it by risking their lives. So also in the future, our people will not obtain territory and therewith the means of existence as a favor from any other people, but will have to win it by the power of a triumphant sword. Mein Kampf contains many such passages, and the extolling of force as an instrument of foreign policy is openly proclaimed. The precise objectives of this policy of force are also set forth in detail. The very first page of the book asserts that German Austria must be restored to the great German motherland, not on economic grounds, but because people of the same blood should be in the same Reich. The restoration of the German frontiers of 1914 is declared to be wholly insufficient, and if Germany is to exist at all, it must be as a world power with the necessary territorial magnitude. Mein Kampf is quite explicit in stating where the increased territory is to be found. Therefore, we National Socialists have purposely drawn a line through the line of conduct followed by pre-war Germany in foreign policy. We put an end to the perpetual Germanic march towards the south and west of Europe and turn our eyes towards the lands of the east. We finally put a stop to the colonial and trade policy of the pre-war times and pass over to the territorial policy of the future. But when we speak of new territory in Europe today, we must think principally of Russia and the border states subject to her. Mein Kampf is not to be regarded as a mere literary exercise, nor as an inflexible policy or plan incapable of modification. Its importance lies in the unmistakable attitude of aggression revealed throughout its pages, because of the light they shed upon the question of the common plan and aggressive war. These meetings took place on the 5th of November 1937, the 23rd of May 1939, the 22nd of August 1939, and the 23rd of November 1939. At these meetings, important declarations were made by Hitler as to his purposes, which are quite unmistakable in their terms. Enforcement of the Reich. The next step was Bohemia, Moravia, and Poland. This step also was not possible to accomplish in one campaign. First of all, the western fortification had to be finished. It was not possible to reach the goal in one effort. It was clear to me from the first moment that I could not be satisfied with the Sudeten German territory. That was only a partial solution, and reaffirming the aggressive intentions present from the beginning puts beyond any question of doubt the character of the actions against Austria and Czechoslovakia and the war against Poland. For they had all been accomplished according to plan, and the nature of that plan must now be examined in a direction in the Reich, and not overseas. Militarily and politically would constitute considerable relief owing to shorter and better frontiers